Welcome back, everybody, to day one of the VCT Game Changers Academy. We are in the round robin stages. We just had round one going out, where we saw Light Up Sketchers versus Man I Love Fwogs on Haven, where Light Up Sketchers was actually able to take that map 13-9. And I think that was largely in due to the fact that, Light Up Sketchers, they actually managed to convert round two for themselves after losing the pistol on both halves up against the buy-up of Man I Love Fwogs with a half buy with pistols. But, I mean, that is enough about that previous matchup. We are going into the second round of today. We will be seeing INVICTA versus Team Kittens. How are you both doing? And Sam, how did you feel about that last matchup?
So the last matchup, I kind of want to boil it down to the fact that Man I Love Fwogs have had some recent roster changes. They haven't been playing together as long as a team because obviously Polaris very recently disbanded. And then you have to think about how Team Sketchers were actually playing in a lot of tournaments. So that makes a huge difference. But as we move to this next matchup, INVICTA versus Team Kittens, I feel like there's so much on the line here because both of these two teams lost their opening game. So whoever wins here is going to go up in the bracket, and whoever loses is going to stay at the bottom. And there's so many spots in playoffs, and there are only so many matches in these round robins. So this is going to be one of those kind of pivotal make or break matches for both of these teams.
Yeah, as a reminder for everyone who may have missed the earlier pre-show, this is round robin stages, best of one series across the board within these groups. And why don't we take a look at the map picks and bans going into this next matchup, which is once again INVICTA versus Team Kittens. And first off, we're going to see that first ban going out on Breeze from INVICTA, second one on Split by Team Kittens. Icebox next up by INVICTA, and Fracture is the last ban going out from Team Kittens. Or, sorry, the second last ban. And then the last ban will be Ascent from INVICTA. I can't even read or count
Math
clearly.
is hard. Don't worry about it.
Maps are hard. I'm so used to doing best of threes with these map picks and bans as well that, narrowing it down to the one and realizing that we do have 6 bans going out in the end. So that will be Haven, and that means we're going to be on Bind, where INVICTA will be starting on the defense first. And what are some team compositions that you might be looking forward to seeing coming out, Tala?
I mean, I definitely think that we're probably going to see the Brimstone because such a small map, and they even increased his smoke range recently. So Brimstone is definitely going to be a very strong pick on Bind since the Sim Beacon, and I think pairing that up with the Neon would be really interesting to see here because I think Bind is one of those small maps where you can see some sort of edge picks come in. You don't really need to have the Jet on Bind because even though she has so much mobility, there are so many small spaces that it's almost unnecessary at times to have someone who can cover so much ground and take so much space in a short amount of time, whereas you can have someone like Neon doesn't need as much upward mobility, and you can pair her up with such a strong pick like Brimstone, and I think that's something that would be really cool and really interesting to see come into this matchup.
Absolutely. But as a reminder, we're also playing on patch 4.05 right now. So the recent Brimstone nerf has gone out. So that Stim Beacon now worth 200 creds and only one available. But that's enough of that. We are going to go straight into Agent Select, and you both can take it away. Good luck.
Thank you so much for taking us through that one. We're going to be jumping into our second matchup of the evening. As we mentioned, it's going to be INVICTA versus Team Kittens. And I see a lot of hovering going on here. None of it seems realistic. I see a Neon there as well, and I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be perfectly honest. I'd love to see it, but I feel like Bind might be a little bit too small for that one. But we are seeing a hover over that Brimstone that you were talking about, and we're also seeing potential for the Viper. You were kind of talking about Sage in the green room, so a lot of different options here for these teams.
Yeah, I definitely think Viper is also a very strong pick on Bind. She can cover so much ground with just a single wall, especially if you make use of the teleporters that you have going around, and that's just really the gimmick of Bind. And teleporter players are, I feel, very rare on this map, but when they are used, they can be really impressive. And I think it's actually potential for there to be a double initiator, double controller, no sentinel well, they lock in the chamber. I was going to say, are they going to lock in both the KO and the Sky? So they're going to have way too many flashes and also as well as smokes to pop flashes through. But instead, they do lock in that chamber on both sides. It's the Brim, and the difference really here is really that Sova.
Yeah, I think that the Sova gives quite a bit of an advantage, and it's going to really dictate the play style that these two teams are going to have. One is going to be a little bit less dependent, rather is going to have a little bit less of that information, and while the other is going to have a lot more available to them, which could, it can work out either way for either of these teams. But here we go. We're going to be jumping straight in. As we mentioned before, it is Bind. And we're going to have a look and see what these two teams can do for us here. INVICTA starting off on this defense, spreading themselves out quite nicely, and just waiting for that timer to tick down.
It's it's going to be an interesting setup. You do see that what I think it's just the chamber rendezvous being able to go from one side to the site to the other almost immediately. That is very powerful for a sentinel, and it's not something that you see very often. And just having the traps on either side, that might make a huge difference here, or it might just be a sort of gimmick to rotate around quickly.
Trailblazer is going to come out, is immediately going to spot James Fangirl, push her off of her spot there. But there you go, a little bit more of that info coming through. They know where she is, and Nina's going to swing out, get that first kill, and open up the site a little bit here. Spike's going to go down very, very quickly on the round, and Nina just on top of her game here, doing so much. Now, there is a little bit of a late lurker. No, doesn't check the corner. I think that's one of the biggest missteps that we see so often in these games. But now we've got another corner to check. Do they check it? Yes, they do. They're going to win out on that one. 2 versus 3, it's definitely doable, but that Spike continuing to tick away. Use the guiding light there, doesn't spot out anything. They swing together, counter guiding light, it's big, and there's a nice little follow-up out of lamps to just get that cleanup.
INVICTA losing that first round, Team Kittens taking it over to their side. They're allowed to have the buy up for the second round, and they're looking pretty strong. It's a nice post plant setup, and they were able to get onto site pretty easily there, even with the help of the extra really quick rotation. But look at the setup from INVICTA. It seems like it's going to be one of those run it down mid strats onto their ego round, and it's just full classics, no sheriffs at all, but they're still going to go for it.
Bombardie coming through, clearing out some of those angles. Look at this aggressive push! And they don't notice that she's gotten in behind them now. Allegedly, Alexa only manages to get 2. I mean, you say only 2. For her to have gotten that many there is pretty big. But they haven't capitalized on the opening. Oh, Sin, that was nasty. A low HP target, and it's just that little bit of cleanup. It is going to get traded out a little bit, but Sin is going to finish things off with the last 2 kills of the round, one of them being a shock dart, no less. And, they don't get the plant, so they don't get the bonus credits, but who cares? They win the force.
I mean, yeah, nice force. Unfortunately, they honestly do get a few players, and so it just means that they're going to have to try and match economy, and the guns are going to be a little lesser coming up against the rifle buy on their bonus. So they might not be able to do as much damage as they would have been able to if they still had been able to keep those guns. But still, it is almost a complete rush onto the A site with all 5 players stacked up in market.
Paint shells coming through into lamps. Counter paint shells. Beautifully played there. Going to stop any potential aggression coming out as just a few pot shots being taken. Again, we're making a ton of noise in mid, but no commitments have been made just yet. And that Viper's wall, it's the same one we saw in the previous round. Thankfully, we're not seeing that super aggressive push out this time around from INVICTA. Taking this a little bit more slowly, waiting for someone to walk into their crosshairs. It looks like it could be allegedly Alexa. Ooh, that was pixel timing there. She manages to get out with her life, but as they try to push in through Hookah, they just get mowed down. Spike is down, and well, that should be the round.
Yeah, Lele okay, takes down Sin. It's all left up to Swag, and it's just not in the cards for her to even take one down. Flawless round for Invicta. Exactly what you want to see, expect to see when you come up onto these anti-eco rounds. And now they are able to buy up. Finally, an even gun buy across the board. And it's interesting to look at the setups here now. We do see that wall goes through teleporter. Unfortunately, doesn't cut off mid, however. So unable to cover as much space with the Viper, but they got the Brim on the other site. It wouldn't be as bad, but now a more split play, no longer 5 players stacked in market, and push!
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. They push out, following it like a Sova drone. The bomb buddy bots them out. They follow it out perfectly. And again, it's James Fangirl who comes out so massively with a beautiful 2K to open up the round. That's immediately going to stall out Team Kittens. What do they do now? They're posturing over towards Showers. This has immediately been picked up by INVICTA, who have now reinforced the A site. 3 players strong. They haven't given up all of the space across the map, however. They are playing this a little bit more carefully. They know that rotations are still a possibility. Guiding light comes through. Don't think it connected with anything. So they do really well to starve Team Kittens of as much of that information as they possibly can. Now, we spoke about how important corners are. Is Sin going to check this corner?
Oh.
Yes, she is. She comes out on top. And it's Nina again with the solid crossfire. And from a deficit to a lead, 3 versus 2 Spike gets planted. The last 2 players have to funnel in through the defender spawn. Trailblazer is going to come through into Lamps. It's going to spot out 1. So I know that there's 1 player still left alive there. Nice, the beacon comes through, gives them that little bit of an extra speed burst, but the shock dart chunks so much of that HP. The lineup is so good. A smoke comes down, gonna tap the spike, and it's Swag on the sort of the lurk there. Beautiful crossfires once again. And that's gonna be another round. And Victor looking a little shaky in that one, but they bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, Incendiary is able... They even have the lineup on the Incendiary, right? So I feel like even if they were able to get onto that defuse, the Molly would have killed them either way. So it's a good lineup, but now they know that Brim is playing for those lineups. They're going to have to be a little bit more wary in the retakes, hunt down that last player, even if she's nowhere in sight. They really have to go looking, because if she can get that lineup and there's only 1 or 2 players left over with low health, it's just going to be the round, especially on this attacking half.
Oh, it looks like they might be going for an orb play out of B. We'll see if they can get that Viper's Pit online, which I think could be massive. Oh, they don't manage to snag that orb. They haven't actually pushed for it yet. Meanwhile, Trailblazer is going to come through over onto A. Doesn't actually spot anything out. And this is, again, a little bit of a stall out, a little bit of a, let's see if we can find some of that information. They start pushing their way in towards Hookah. Now, this play didn't work out previously, but it's Nina once again doing so much to make those openings. Oh, now the orb play comes through. Sin, beautiful timing. The flash didn't come out there, and while Savvy does get the orb, does get the Viper's Pit online, she loses her life. She's not going to be able to use it in this round. Allegedly, Alexa is going to boost herself in onto the B side, take control of it. Spike's going to go down. 5 versus 2 here for Invicta. It's a bit of a tough spot to be in. I think at this point, you just kind of, yeah, you save. You just hold on to those rifles.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to be said about the way that Team Kittens plays these rounds. They play very, very quietly, and all of a sudden just explode onto the site. They don't really allow Invicta to make those rotations over, even with the chamber. And like by that point, by the time the rendezvous is over, Kittens is already on the site, and they can spot out that teleport and take her down pretty easily. Allegedly, Alexa, I think, looking for this pick, though, not going to let herself be fragged on, but unfortunately does not come out on top of that.
Important, that last little kill there. Now, not necessarily because you're doing much of anything to the enemy team economy, but because it means you get to hold on to your rifle, which in this round is pretty important. You can see the economy is quite broken here. They have actually forced up into a third rifle to have that little bit of extra firepower. But for the rest, it's going to be not great. Full armor and specters.
Keep them cornered.
A bit of a fight with that, but it's going to be tough. So for now, we're going to see again that lean over towards the right side of the map, mid to A. That Viper's Pit now that we were hoping to see in the previous round does come through. And of course, the Trailblazer is going to spot her out because, well, of course she's in her pit. That's where she would be. So Showers is now not an option, and look at this aggressive push out of B as well. There's a potential lurk coming through here. Seems like they are somewhat aware of it. The Seekers are going to come through as well. Oh, and then the shots come through. They know exactly what's waiting for them around the corner. Guiding Light doesn't connect. And it's allegedly Alexa and Sin to do the little bit of cleanup there, shut down that flank, and immediately start moving over towards the B side. The rotation is going to come through from Invicta as well, however. And with the Stim Beacon with that little bit of extra speed boost. And allegedly Alexa again just boosting herself in onto the B side, waiting for someone to push out, waiting for someone to peek her, giving her team the opportunity to get that spike down. Finally, we do see Savvy moving out of her Viper's Pit. She's coming in on a lurk, but it's going to be too little too late. 2 players left alive here. The site is completely overrun and taken control of by Team Kittens. There you go. The lurk doesn't come in quickly enough.
Yeah, I don't think she can really fight her way back in. She's able to secure 1 more kill in the round, but still so much economy for Team Kittens to fall back on that it doesn't seem like it's going to make much of a difference. Maybe it gets her a few more points back up onto the Viper's Pit, that ultimate, but once you deny so early into the round, it's really just making something a non-option and easier to defend. It doesn't have too much impact when it's not the site that they decide to hit here, and unfortunately it means that they do have to go onto that pistol buy instead. And their last round, they really tried to make something happen with the huge flank through Market, but unfortunately it was just an overextension, especially when all 5 of those players. But oh my god, a very early orbital strike here just to clear out.
Really, really important. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most important areas on this map, so they get that down, they get the space on the site. The Showstopper comes out, but they don't notice.
No.
Oh, Savvy was hiding in the smoke. It's beautiful. She manages to pick up the rifle and get a second for herself. She's insane. Eventually, she will get traded out, however, and now it's Swag dancing around these boxes, trying to get a little bit more done. Spike hasn't been planted just yet. 2 versus 3.
No.
And the counter orbital strike comes through. Oh, and there you go. It's the cleanup. For an eco round, this was pretty nasty from Invicta.
Yeah, I mean, there was not even too much investment at all from the ultimates either. Just the orbital strike to try and stop the plant. And I gotta give it over to Savvy because she anchored that down with the Showstopper. And it was like, I wouldn't say it was disrespectful, but she definitely had a lot of confidence to go around peeking arrays with literally just a rocket launcher in her hands. So, I mean, it's a really good round win for them. They get to pick up a few free rifles as well. Lele OK has that tour de force in hand, and she's going to be able to take a lot of control down those long angles, down garden, speed long, which is exactly where they're deciding to go here. And with the guiding light, that's a powerful combo.
Alright, tour de force, gonna try and lock down this B site. Gonna be pushed off of her position by that drone, and oh no, forced to take the TP, not ideal. Layla has to run for her life here. That's again gonna force them out of position, and that's a massive advantage for Team Kittens. Pain Shell's gonna come through, do a little bit of damage, but so many of these players are getting lit up. As now again, it's one of these super aggressive pushes. Showstopper comes out, it's gonna take out allegedly Alexa. Words are hard, but again, it's Invicta managing to shut down a site very, very decisively.
They're starting to get the feel for the pushes that's coming out from Team Kittens. They definitely it's the explosive playstyle once again. Once they decide that they're going somewhere, if they've invested into it, they're not going to back off. Like, if they start blast packing in, if allegedly Alexa throws out those blast packs, you know that it's going to be B. You start that rotation. They are not going to back out because they're trying to follow up for their duelist. They're making use of the space that allegedly Alexa is trying to make for them, and it's a really good play. But unfortunately, the shots weren't there. And once the defenders start sniffing that out and make those big rotations, they have the setup and they have the positioning. And even though they were able to force out the Sky from long and leave Lele okay alone, she has the rendezvous to fall back on. She can go back and wait for that retake.
Much needed timeout here. Not necessarily because they're at a huge deficit, but they have conceded a couple of rounds. They weren't really expecting to need to do that. And they also know that they're on a little bit of a... Well, I'm wondering if they're gonna opt for a broken buy or if they're just gonna save what credits they have. And oh, they're actually gonna force this a little bit. Not a huge force, not a economic breaking force, but if they lose this round, it could be dire straits. Yes, they'll have a 3-round loss bonus to kind of try and fall back on, but it's definitely not ideal. Krill very likely, there you go, popping that Twitter force, and another Viper's Pit online here for Savvy. This is like 2 rounds later. It's insane that she's able to do this. She's going to lock down mid. And okay, Spike still kind of posturing in. Of course, the Owl drone's going to come through. It's the perfect way to try and deal with the Viper's Pit. Gets you that little bit of information, but now it has been used. Shock Dart not quite connecting, as now it seems that they're not going to push into this. In fact, they're going to pull back a little bit. And Savvy, oh, look at this. She's holding so aggressive. All right, she realizes not the best idea. Trailblazer is ready and waiting, but meanwhile, Krill has basically realized that the rest of the site is more or less free. Now, that Trailblazer is going to spot out Savvy, but does it spot James Fangirl? I don't think it did. Nina's just trying to 1vx this one. She's keeping them occupied while the rest of her team are pushing in through A, because again, Krill realized it's completely free and clear.
I mean, the rotation through showers is important, but Lele's come around. She's holding it, but she's not able to get it. I really like the positioning of this Viper's Pit, but it's just given them way too much space for playing inside it. There is such a weak showers hold from INVICTA, and now they have Spike down on site.
Control of lamps, they have control of the entirety of the site, and Krill has control of showers. But Psycho, when shots are true, she's able to get that first kill as they now try and move in for this retake. They're very close to the spike, but they can't afford to make a misstep. It's going to continue to trade out here. Only 2 players left alive here for Team Kittens. It's doable. And there you go, INVICTA are going to be able to clean that out. Another solid retake. They're starting to get back into this.
They're definitely making their way back in, and Team Kittens, off the back of that timeout, still unable to stop the bleeding that they've had for the past 3 rounds. Their economy is pretty broken. They're still trying to force the issue, though, and buy into that one rifle for Sin. The rest of the team on Spectres, and there's one player who is still sticking to that classic, and that is the Chamber. I mean, with the Headhunter, it is possible to just leave yourself onto the classic, save some money for the abilities, and definitely be able to buy for the next round. But they definitely need to switch up their strategy, play a few more defaults instead of just rushing into these sites.
Now that force in the previous round was high risk and none of the reward. Now allegedly Alexa's going to be making that noise here over on B. Paint shells immediately come out to try and clear out that angle, so she knows there's no one in that corner. Oh, but she's heard the teleport come through, so there you go. Trailblazer's going to spot that out. Do they know where Savvy is? Oh, they forced Lele out of position. They've seen Savvy crossing. Oh my goodness. This was beautiful utilization of that utility, getting all of that early information, cleaning things up. And again, on what is a very, very broken buy here. James Fangirl spots out Swag. Gonna throw out the paint shells, try and clear her out, do a little bit of damage there. Oh, work!
What a shot!
Day of the week to get that is a little bit illegal.
Oh my goodness. I mean, Nina, secures that last kill, and the only person who dies is Swag to the paint shells. But I mean, it takes some force of will to decide to peek the Raze who has you naded in a corner instead of just taking the teleporter, because the option was definitely there. But I guess the confidence play coming from Team Kittens, they're able to secure themselves around finally, and now it is once again the even gun buy across the board. They switch it up a little bit, but it was just really that not Hunter's Fury, sorry, it was the Orbital Strike who I think really helped them out with the round. The Trailblazer onto the chamber in the corner, because the Rendezvous has such a loud indicator there, and it was really nice to be able to just get all those defenders off the site. But now in a bit of aggressive play from James Fangirl and Envious out into long, Swag is holding it along with Nina, but a guiding light is all it takes.
No. Oh, bit of ring a Rosie there. It's gonna get traded out. Nina forced down to half HP, but look at this swing around from a Legend.
Oh.
She does get spotted out by Psycho Win, though. I mean, this is just one of the most ridiculous rounds we've seen. And now all the way over here, we got Savvy pushing out aggressively. Krill comes out on top of it. She's got the spike as well. And Invicta at this point are just like, what, where, how, what? Looks like Spike's moving towards A, though, so it has somewhat been clocked. They know that they can't give up the position too heavily. Lele, now hearing a lot of that util coming out, realizes it's going to be the A hit, so the rotation is going to come through from Psycho Win.
Oh.
Tough ask, 17 HP and a dream. Nina's going to take her down, and Psycho Win is the last one here. Committed that orbital strike as well. Didn't get the value she would have wanted. Off by mere pixels of getting that spray down through the boxes to try and 1v3 this, to somehow come out on top of it. Shot gets fired, so they know exactly where she is. Not that they had too many doubts about it at that point.
The double U-Haul hold.
I mean, it's impossible to push into that, but it's not impossible to push out of.
Well, Krill secures that last kill. I mean, I was kind of wondering if she was going to push into that U-Haul hold, because it seemed very, very solid there. And as soon as you get control of U-Haul, it's really hard for anyone to retake it, especially if it's in attacking the attackers that are double stacked, triple stacked. It's just such a small space, and it's so hard to gain control of the site without it, because you can just peek out on either side and have view of that spike. It is just incredibly scary there. And Lele almost had secured that kill off the back of the orbital strike, but unfortunately not there. And now, oh my god, what a push coming out from this squad. Invicta, though, shut down almost immediately, but Psycho Win trades one back.
When the Seekers somehow play against you, you're trying to fire through your own Seekers, you can't actually see anything, and you are the one who winds up dying in that. Oh, you hate to see it when your own utility turns on you. And now, Savvy, we've seen her do some incredible things in previous rounds. See if she can follow this one up. And with Team Kittens having pushed in very quickly at the start of the round, they have all the time in the world. And now it's them who get to play for time here. So, Savvy, not opting to try to save, instead just going to push out a little bit. And there is a bit of close plant utility here as well. Of course, mollies are a potential. Oh, and she's going to waste time pushing the smoke because she just doesn't know. Well, you and I have the benefit of caster vision, but she has no idea where these last two players are. She's starting to get an inkling of it, but with that spike slowly ticking away, she taps the spike, waiting for someone to peek. She gets the kill onto Krill. Gonna tap it again just to see if she can get something happening there. Not gonna be able to get that defuse through. Maybe she can get the very last kill of the round, but that spike is going and
I mean, she's able to she's able to secure the last two kills, at least as a consolation. It ends the half 8-4 Invicta at a 4-round deficit, so it is looking a little dicey for them, but if they are able to get the buy here, win the pistol and get the buy up into the next, it should be a much easier much easier half for them and a lot more relaxed. But now they are on the attack, and while Team Kitten's attack looked very strong, Bind does tend to be this defender-sided map. And it's really the difference of the Viper, because the Viper is a strong defender, and a few patches ago, she was almost played as a pseudo sentinel. She can kind of still fill into that role at this point, but it not as strong.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Oh,
Big danger there. Oh my goodness, look at all of this utility coming out, but it's Envious who comes up massive. Somehow they win out the
Envious
utility trade game. 1 HP in a dream. 3 kills into that round. Only 2 players left alive.
God.
Yeah, Spike's gonna go down pretty easily. What is Savvy doing? She's on the wildest flank ever, and no one has a clue. She's just gonna be able to clean up from behind, and that's assuming the rest of her team are even gonna give her the opportunity to do so.
ooh.
Oh, that's one. Can't get the second, but there you go. It's traded out by James Fangirl. And that's, all right, pretty decisive first pistol round here in the second half.
I mean, Envious came up huge in that long push, and you can definitely see that Team Kittens really favor that aggression. And I think they don't really know much else other than aggression, since they do like to really push on through. The Sova, I feel, is less strong on the defense than a Viper, and also the fact that they have the double controller means that they can put smokes on either or both sites, and still have utility left over if they decide to switch on over. And now they do have the buy up, and they're pushing in through onto the B site.
We had double shorties for a half a second there, and that just got completely shut down. Yeah, Nina still has one of those shorties trying to make something happen with it, but it's not to be. Swag's the last player left alive here. Again, pretty decisive. So here's my question. Who is James? Right. We've got one of his fangirls here, and I really want to know who this is.
James. James. I don't know who James is. Who is James?
I'm wondering that.
Any Jameses in the chat? You got fangirls in the lobby. Any Jameses? Come get your fangirl.
Come cheer her on. She's killing it. So, you know.
Yeah.
Let her do her thing. She's incredible. If she's your fangirl, you gotta be really good.
Now they are against this rifle buy. Allegedly Alexa just going to escape with her life. Satchel back onto the site. But it's looking like still it be lean. They're not looking like they're trying to rotate, but it's a push out from Showers that they really have to worry about. And honestly, Savvy might just miss her. Oh.
Okay. Oh, Savvy's reversing. Hasn't quite spotted out Swag yet.
Launching smoke.
And there is a trap there as well, so as soon as it gets pushed into, but it's not going to. Instead, it's gonna be, oh my goodness, James's fangirl absolutely deleted with the blast satchel attempt to get in onto the site. It's a firing gallery here over on the B site. The late lurk is gonna come in eventually, but it's taking so long. Now Swag might have the upper hand here. I don't think that they're aware that this is where she is. This isn't the best crossfire in the world. She has given up her position as well. Snakebite's gonna come out. That's gonna stop an aggressive push out of elbow. And now all they need to do is buy a little bit of time. Spam through that box. Isn't gonna hit anything, but it's Krill who's able to spam through the tin can and get that first kill. Layla managing to get one, but it's just... Did she get the second one? Oh! That's a nice little side step there through the wall. But again, it's just Lele playing for time. She hears the footsteps. She hears the tap. Oh, there you go. Beautifully played here by Lele.
Lele 3 rounds in a row for INVICTA, securing that 1-point deficit now, and they have put Team Kittens on a little bit of a save. They have money to potentially force, but instead they're going to let it go, let it be tied up, try and buy for next round instead, and maintain their lead in that fashion against this full rifle buy for INVICTA, really coming back in this attacking half. And even though that defense looked really strong for a second. What is this bush?
This is what we call aggressive. Very aggressive. And we had the stem beacon coming out as well. Look at all this utility again. Shock dart coming out to just force them off of that position. And look at this tail over towards B. They make so much noise in mid. They pull so many of those Team Kitten forces towards A, and of course it was a little bit of a gamble stack, so you're kind of, it's not a full pistol, so you're not full gamble stacking 100%, you still have an opportunity here, but on this weaker buy, to try and come through, they've already lost one of their players. There's so many angles here, the elephanting once again coming through. Grill only good for one before it's absolutely sprayed through. The stinger at range, how often do we actually see the stinger? Only good for one. And that's going to be INVICTA tying us up.
Now 8-8, they have 3 ultimates available on the side of INVICTA. They're 2 away from that big showstopper. And on the other side, they're kind of struggling in terms of ultimate economy. They have the Tour de Force, so Krill able to buy a teammate potentially, getting allegedly Alexa onto that full shield. So we're just going to buy full shield for herself and take up the Tour de Force either way. And it looks like she's going to be peeking into mid right up against this other chamber. I'm not sure if Lele wants to peek that, but she misses the shot.
Oh, you have to hit those. Well, that does at least give some information across to both sides. Now the Seeker's going to get that little bit more information as all 3 of them immediately start pushing in towards the site. They know that there's a very big stack here coming through. Seekers manages to hit through onto one. James Vangold just spots out the legs, pushing into the smoke. Isn't able to connect onto anyone, though. Throws out the paint shells just in case anyone is pressuring her. Plus the bootbot coming through and the Trailblazer. That's a lot of those cooldowns used over in Lamps, but they have control of Lamps, which is massive. And with the spike already having been planted, this is good. They just have to keep applying pressure. Swag bots out Nina, not going to be able to connect and get that kill. And it's just going to be a little bit of cleanup here from INVICTA. Well, as I say that, keeps trading on. Allegedly, Alexa, that snakebite didn't hit, so she's going to start that defuse, but she gets taken down 1 versus 1. The spike is about to tick off. Swag spamming through the smoke, trying to get another kill, just escapes with her life. Gets chased through the portal, and, well, I stand corrected. She does not escape with her life.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I definitely didn't know if Savvy was going to chase her right through the portal, but it was down to the wire. I expected that U-Haul hold to be very strong, but after a little bit of util dumping, that Sky and Brim are able to get on through, and allegedly Alexa just sticking to her guns on that spike defuse, but very chaotic right until the very end, and Savvy able to clutch it out and just play for enough time that the detonation goes off here. But now, once again, Team Kitten's falling into this sort of pattern of eco buys, and then full buy, and then eco, and then full, and it's just not looking good for them. Not even a single round on their defending half.
Yeah, the econ has been very messy. Oh my goodness, Krill. Oh my goodness, Krill. Oh my goodness, Krill. She does eventually manage to get it and then gets the hell out of dodge. Spike's already been planted though. Paint shell's going to come through into that connector. Not going to be able to catch anything, but Lele's going to get spotted out by the recon dodger. Shock dot's going to come through. She manages to push past it, but it doesn't matter because the bullets aim true. We spoke about what a broken buy this was and how concerning it was, and somehow Team Kittens only lose 1 player in that half. Maybe a spot of overconfidence here from INVICTA?
I mean, they definitely pushed very far in very quickly, and I think a lot of space was surrendered by Team Kittens, especially that U-Haul that we were discussing. They were kind of just allowed to push right on through, and I think that INVICTA definitely wanted more after they saw how free this site was, and they kind of assumed, oh, this is a very weak site. Let's push into their spawn. Let's get a few more frags, but they were just all stacked up there waiting for that aggression, and I think INVICTA now really needs to pull back and take a deep breath, try not to overextend themselves on those attacking rounds. Lele okay, pulling out that Tour de Force, and I think if they want to get a lead again, they should be investing some of these ultimates we see.
Trailblazer's gonna spot out one, and again we're seeing a lot of that util being used here. MBS Does take down the boom bot, but doesn't get spotted out by the recon dot. However, the owl drone is going to follow it up, and that's going to force her away. And she's just been kind of baiting here, trying to give an opportunity for Lele, because if somebody peeks out, they're hopefully going to die. Showstopper comes out, doesn't connect somehow. A blinded Sova reversing out of the sightline of a Showstopper. Have you ever seen anything so ridiculous? 4 versus 3 here on this defensive side. They have managed to stem the tide quite a lot. And for some reason, we're still seeing a heavy lean towards B. The A side is so free. There you go.
Yep.
Immediately TP through, but do they know that Swag is right there? The timing. Swag is now unseen. Going to be able to sneak up behind them. No one is checking. Lele is in so much danger here. Do they hear that? No, they don't. They don't hear the equipping of the run.
Oh my goodness. And
the Hunt Fury is going envious off of the default position, and not only that, take her down on. Wow, what a round!
I mean, INVICTA now going to be leading a few rounds as they finally find their stride here, Team Kittens, and a well-timed timeout from Savvy to try and get INVICTA back in the game, getting their heads together and brainstorming what went wrong. Honestly, if I have to put one thing, it has to be that Showstopper, because James Fangirl made so much space with it, and for it to not connect with the defender and Garden, that is just devastating for this INVICTA squad, because they can't follow up anymore, because now like their duelist, their person making so much space for them, they're just gone.
It's rough here, I think, for INVICTA, because they had a bit of a rough first half. They were kind of starting to claw their way back into it here on the second, and Team Kittens just with such a wild resurgence, managing to string together so many of those rounds. Well, I mean, they get 2 after INVICTA managed to string together 5. You kind of start to think, well, you know, you're building up a ton of momentum there, and bearing in mind that first round that they do manage to win out is on one of those broken buys. And that gives them that little bit of the confidence boost that they needed to keep themselves into this. It's going to be a full buy here for Team Kittens. And of course they can. Look at them. They're pretty stacked in terms of eco. Got a slush fund, as I like to say. I've moved, you know, I used to call them trust fund babies. And then I got yelled at for saying that, because apparently it doesn't make sense. So now we're slush funds. You know, we got slush funds. And that's exactly what Team Kittens has got at this point.
Now, yeah, it's a slower play from INVICTA, definitely playing a bit more carefully, but maybe that Seekers is going to help them. Oh, ouch for Sin.
Taking so much damage there, and is immediately forced out of position. All right. Well, the back and forth nature is apparently going to continue. The Seekers came out to give information, and then of course that orbital strike forces Sin into a rough spot here. 3 players left alive for Team Kittens. Let's see if they are able to regress in onto the side. They do have a good pincer maneuver here. No! The timing! Oh no, Psycho Wind was watching, but Swag turns it just around the corner, and there, the power of the stim beacon. It's been nerfed a little bit, but it still packs a punch when you know, invest into it. And while that does go back and forth, once again, it's Nina who comes out on top. That was so close to being around for INVICTA, but somehow Team Kitten just keep clawing their way back into all of these rounds.
Now, Team Kittens, I mean, definitely looked like it was just the timing there on the flank. I mean, Psycho Win looks at the flank for a second, and then she turns back to look at the spike, and it was just so unfortunate, the timing, because Swag swings right at that moment, and then Savvy really trying to get that refrag for her teammate, unfortunately, is just not able to secure the kill, doesn't expect the combat sim and the wide swing. And now they're just on this save buy, or really fractured buy, with a judge, sheriffs, and some specters in play.
Pots and pans, as someone in the EMEA likes to say. But look at all of this utility coming out, the ultimates coming through. I cannot believe that Savvy invests the Viper's Pit into that. Oh, what an overcommitment in that round. And of course, she immediately gets taken now. So the Viper's Pit is off the board. The most impactful gun that they had has just been taken off the board. And Envious is the last one left alive with 26 HP. And they haven't been able to get so much as 1 kill. I stand corrected. That's going to be the first one. But that's all she's going to be able to get. We find ourselves on match point here. And honestly, INVICTA in such a rough spot. They invested the only ultimate they had into that last round. And now they're kind of running on empty.
It was just a little bit of impatience that we saw from Savvy in that round, I would think, because she really didn't wait for her team to secure anything before she went into that ultimate, and I think that was a problem with Viper before they gave her a huge buff on the casting time of it, but it's still not completely safe there, and she was just able to be spammed down. I think having the judge in her hands, she thought that being able to make some space with that weapon inside her ultimate was exactly what she needed, but unfortunately it just was not in the cards and she was taken down immediately. So now they are able to make their way up onto the A site, but Shower's still not completely clear. Savvy's doing her best to make it work though.
I was waiting for that. Allegedly, Alexis swings out at just the right time to get that first kill of the round, and now the rotation is immediately coming in towards A because they realize that there's not much else happening and the spike's already been planted, so they gotta get themselves into position. And having lost one player, INVICTA still have an opportunity. Recon.Dot is going to spot out one. Oh my god, somehow as the spike comes down, everyone falls apart on this defensive side. Yeah, now it's 2 versus 3, and somehow this is looking like a round that INVICTA are going to come out on top. Swag is the last one left alive. She can get one, but with the time left available to her, all she can realistically hope for here is an exit frag. It's not going to be James Fangirl. 4th kill on the board, and of course, it had to be a paint shell kill.
Jane's Fangirl now does have that showstopper available. Hopefully we'll be able to have it connect this time around, because I mean, we've seen someone disrespect the showstopper, and that was Savvy, but I think Team Kittens is a little bit more careful around that rocket launcher, are willing to make as much space as possible to get away from the blast. And this time it's going to be another A-side lane, but the aggression from Showers once again, but this time it is 3 players, and they're just following that Boom Buddy all the way around. Oh, they also capture the ult orb. That gives them the Seekers on top of it, and that's just going to sniff out all of those players sitting in market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big play to send out 3 to try to get that orb, and well, while it does get them the Seekers, all the Seekers funnel through the same direction. They all get taken out by like 1 player. Doesn't really give them as much of that information as they would have wanted to have. Basically, it tells them the players aren't in Showers, which they knew. And now, with that swing out, the perfect timing 5 versus 2 here on match point. The spike has already been dropped. Sin is babysitting it, and it's going to be allegedly Alexa who will clean up the last 2 kills in the round.
Kittens are able to pick that one up and clean it up near the end, even though they did flail a little bit as soon as they switched onto the defending half, eventually are able to close it out, and they did it in such an explosive fashion, same way that they did when they were on the attack.
Yeah. It's a pretty strong performance yet. It went very back and forth between these 2 teams, but as we mentioned before, these are just best of ones. So that's going to be our second matchup wrapped up. We're going to take a very short break, and when we return, we'll be back with Spicy Pyro to prep you all for match 3, the third and final of the evening. Don't go anywhere.